Salute. Today we're going to take a look at some Chapter 4 notes and what a second declension neuter noun does. I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. We're going to do a recap here, get into some new forms, and do a little assignment here. All right, so I'm going to try to make this as brief and to the point as possible. All right, so we've learned that there are first declension nouns, which are mostly feminine. And I put some examples here: puella for girl, porta for gate, femina for woman, agricola for farmer, but that is a masculine. It doesn't change the endings that they get. So we know two different noun cases. We know nominative for the subject of the sentence and accusative for the direct object. And then you can express that with singular and plural. We use A for the nominative singular, which is how the nouns are all listed. We do AE if it's plural. Accusative, we do AM. And accusative plural, we do AS. All right, and then we learn that there are second declension nouns, which are all masculine. Oculus for I, that's new in this chapter. Numerous for number. And then there's some that don't use the US. They do an R. So we're for man, ager for field, puer for boy. We also had magister in this chapter for teacher. So US is the most common, but sometimes you do see an R. Okay, they all have I in the nominative plural. Accusative singular is UM, and accusative plural is OS. Okay, so those are the noun endings that we've encountered so far, and the two different types of nouns. But Latin, what's unique to Latin, German has it as well, is that there's a neuter variation. So these are still considered second declension nouns, but they're neuter, so they look a little bit different. So we're going to take a look at that. I believe I've listed every second declension neuter noun that's on the chapter's vocab list. All right, which we covered last week, I believe. All right. So you can tell that they all end in UM. That's how you can tell you're dealing with a second declension neuter noun. So that's going to be the nominative subject form of it. Okay, see all the UMs? All right, now the accusative is also UM, and there's a good rule of thumb to know with neuter anything, okay, because we're going to get into eventually a third declension, and then that also has a neuter, is that nominative and accusative are always the same. All right, and so the accusative is also UM, which is the same for a second declension masculine noun. All right, so really nothing crazy so far. But what's crazy in the plural is this A form. And like I said, nominative and accusative are always the same. So you're used to A being a subject singular ending for first declension nouns, but for second declension neuter nouns, it's actually a plural ending. And that's the big catch. We actually see this in some English words, like mitochondria. All right, that's a biology term. That's actually plural. Singular is mitochondrium. Or bacteria. Bacteria is plural. Bacterium is singular. So in a lot of biology terms, science-related terms that have they pluralize to an A. I think cerebrum goes to cerebra, cerebellum, cerebella, and there's some others, but just to give you an idea where you can see this in use in English. All right, so you might say, well, like, how do I tell the difference if it's a subject or a direct object? You just use the context of the sentence, and it's usually pretty obvious whether or not you're dealing with the subject or the direct object. All right, so that's what a second declension neuter does. All right, so your assignment is going to be to do 4 into English. All right, most of the vocab is from this chapter, so you might want to have that list out. And 4 into Latin, which will be a little bit tricky. All right, keep in mind that these endings are also used for adjectives. So an adjective, like all of these adjectives we just learned, All right, they're listed with all three genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter, because adjectives have to be able to agree with whatever noun you're describing. So a good man, you would use bonus, and then the rest of the second declension masculine endings. A good woman, bona, or a good anything neuter, a good war, you wouldn't say that, but a good cure, you would use these endings. All right, so adjectives can be anything, but nouns are just limited to whatever declension that they belong to. Yeah, all right, so take a look at number one, Bella Sun Mala. This came up before, and you might be asking yourself, am I dealing with this word, the word for pretty, beautiful, or handsome? Or am I dealing with the word for war? All right, and you actually know, because sunt is from the verb to be, which we covered in the last assignment, and it means they are. So the only way that this would work is if this was plural, to match up with the plural they form. So it's probably the word for war with this ending on it. And so wars are evil. Okay, if it was the word for pretty, then it would only have to be, it could only be this singular thing, and then the verb would be singular. All right, so the verb always has to agree with the subject. So wars are evil, and plus that just makes the most sense also. All right, so try these out, and we'll see how you do on these, and let me know and remind if you have any questions. And thanks for tuning in. All right, I will say walite to you, and all right, bye.